Adrian Newey has acquired some awful news from Red Bull concerning his integration into Aston Martin, and it looks as if the Austrian group's playing chess at the same time as the others are gambling checkers. The British mastermind spread out at the movements that had been performed by using the crew of Horner, how they will have an effect on his subsequent career chapter in Aston Martin. So with this in thoughts, has Red Bull done a awesome process in seeking to neutralize the damage from NEI's departure? And greater importantly, how will Aston Martin be afflicted by it? Inside the larger photograph, Aston Martin has landed arguably the maximum precious asset that isn't always a driver in Formula One, Adrian Newey, and after decades of collaboration with the Austrian team, now not many predicted that on the age of 65 NE, he might be prepared to embark on a journey that could be a whole lot greater than what he asked inside the starting butt. Red Bull is aware of his powers, and knows what he is able to because of this, that they are going to do anything of their energy so that Newey's innovations, a number of them proving to be pivotal to the dominance they have had over the past couple of years, may not apply to Aston Martin for an extended period of time. While talking about this to automobile racer Newey, stated that he's nevertheless capable of innovate beneath the gardening go-away length. However, Red Bull has blocked maximum of the tools that enabled him to work, and see whether or not those innovations might work furthermore. Newey said, "No, the crew cannot forestall me from innovating. However, they've blocked my tools so manifestly. Aston wants to do the best job they could in 2025, but my primary type of cognizance will be the 2026 guidelines. And this massive exchange, because I begin on the 2nd of March, the ERA policies come out at the 1st or the TOD of January, so I will already be kind of 2 months behind the curve. But in reality of path, it's more than that, because now not only will I be at the back of on looking at the one's regulations, compared to once they've popped out, however, I'll additionally have hassle with the computer-aided design machine as well. You want to be prematurely with it in order to recognize all the packing containers and so forth, they're so prescribed. And if you reflect on consideration on it, Red Bull has played pretty a solid sport right here, due to the fact they recognize the features of Newey and that they understand that he could have been the using pressure behind all the success they have had in the past couple of years particularly. 2023, of course, you cannot pin down all the achievement to one person, but that one individual is main masses of engineers into a process of innovating and imposing smart solutions. Therefore, when Newey stated that a number of the issues that he talked about, approximately the RBT20 ever since it got here out, have been omitted in the main due to the fact the motors dominated within the first 5 races, it become more or much less the primary sign that there is problem in paradise. And his word changed into not listened to, because it ought to had been to pinnacle, that off the internal investigations concluded, with Horner gaining more strength in the team, and even though Newey's announcement came along earlier than that, it is nonetheless an indicator that there is a lot to be worked on in the inner aspect of Red Bull Aston Martin, but might be a totally effective team from 2026 onwards, while the brand new regulations are set due to the fact there is one big thing that we do not appear to pay sufficient interest to, and this is the mixture of Newey and Honda. Honda has been a thing in Red Bull's achievement as nicely, and whether we love it or now. Now their warm and cold games with Red Bull concerning whether or not they will stay in the sport and widespread have compelled the Austrian team to reflect on consideration on producing their very own engines, now that they may be one of the most success constructors in the records of the sport, and Newey working closely with Honda on this comeback will permit him to have a lot greater freedom in Aston Martin to pick the engineers and the layout of the automobiles accurately. That's why he would possibly have opted for the fairness option that Red Bull wasn't capable of. Fit Horner said that they had in unity. To keep Newey, however, they could not fit the terms that were offered to the 65 12-months-old because they believed that the group revolves around different figures as nicely. Now, not just Newey, elaborating further on this, Horner said the agreement among US and Newey was that at the cease of 2025, he turned into going to step lower, back from Formula One. And definitely simply be a mentor. Otherwise, I changed into going to lose the opposite technical men to a few rival teams. The deal he were given from Aston with fairness and so on is something that pretty sincerely wasn't at the desk here. I can recognize Adrian desires another run across the block in Formula One, and as a shareholder and accomplice in a team, I virtually do not blame him for that. But this passive Red Bull that we're speaking approximately has a remarkable potential to have an effect on Newey's integration to Aston Martin. Because of the opposite elements, just like the truth that he might be accountable for a great improvement component of the car. And with him already being 2 months behind, figures like Cardall and Bowell would possibly have to say a component or two approximately the whole state of affairs of path. There's not anything Lots Newey can do, because this isn't always as much as him. It's a strategy that the group deployed, just like the one that they're deploying whilst a driving force is leaving. And he left out of the crew meetings concerning the automobile's improvement, however. It is still a setback for Newey's integration to the group, with which he is poised to have loads of problems in phases of development, and it can be traced lower back to Horne's statements concerning the motion of Aston Martin promoting Adrian Newey to the position he signed for, whilst nonetheless being under settlement with the Austrian squad. This is something that turned into usual effortlessly by using Red Bull as the concept of the flow as unprofessional, at least elaborating similarly in this quantity. Horne said it turned into glaringly a huge announcement by using Aston, and Adrian has usually tended to do his very own factor, so manifestly it turned into a massive moment for that team. They chose to rejoice it, probably barely prematurely, before he has completed his settlement with Red Bull Racing. However, glaringly became a huge second for the group. Red Bull has no person else responsible but themselves due to the fact, whether we like it or not, Jos Verstappen and him being outspoken inside the crew, he did predict that plenty of humans might be leaving the group after Horne acquired a lot greater strength before the inner investigation became released. After Ney Vital figures like Karane and Wheatley have left the crew, and it goes to reveal that the situation inside the crew, as a minimum, from an internal factor of view, may have deteriorated a piece extra than what the squad could have anticipated. So, a 2-month put-off in Newey services to Aston Martin, by using blocking off the tools to work in Red Bull, may be considered both determined and clever at the identical time, due to the fact the group understands that they are beneath a variety of pressure to prove that they can rise up from the ashes and continue with their dominance as a minimum within the Motive Forces Championship. The Silverstone base squad has invested a lot, no longer simply in personnel, however, in their centers too, renovating the whole thing that may be renovated and making modern production that could be the pillar in their achievement in the approaching future. All of this has been supported by Lawrence Stroll, who, in his greater photo, has a motive force like Vapin, joining the team normally guided through Honda and New, have an impact on, and the reality that Alonso stated he may not be in the game long sufficient to witness Adrian's enter into the automobile goes to reveal that the team Manor Enterprise from day one, while talking approximately how long he'll continue to be in the game and what's coming next for his team. Alonso stated, "We've quite some true things arising within the following few months in the team. Little by little, all of us must have that first race win, and, with any luck, combat for championships inside the destiny. I'm conscious that this takes time and I do not have that point in a manner, but I am comfortable, and I taking part in the adventure and right here we go. Returned to what's currently expecting us. Newey will begin his paintings at the 12th of March. And to say that he's going to have a power on the 2025 model of the car is type of a far-fetched state of affairs, as it's greater or much less completed deal, but for the 2026 season, when the new policies kick in, the mastermind could want to gel with the entirety new in Aston Martin human and non-human related, and the remarks that he could get hold of from his drivers could matter a lot, which might be a purpose as to why he could push for a driving force of Ven's quality to be delivered to the group sooner, in place of later. But make no mistake, just due to the fact 2026 is the future for Aston Martin, it would not imply that they may be now not going to use all of the modern-day personnel in trying to discern out what they can work on to enhance in the 2025 version in their vehicle, and of course win a race with it if viable. That is something it truly is been labeled, because the aim for the approaching season, and while speaking approximately, Alonso says, the apparent. He wishes to get the 33rd win before he retires. Whether that could be underneath the main baton of Newey, or now, not with all of this in mind, you observe that Red Bull has outplayed Aston Martin by way of blocking the gear for Newey or Dewey. Watched that is simply part of a ordinary process. This is legally allowed. Too sluggish, the combination method of your excessive valued personnel on your rivals, which is precisely what Red Bull is doing. Allow us to understand within the remarks underneath, and in case you're inquisitive about Tsunoda's large revenge on Red Bull, make certain to click on the video. It is performing to your display screen right now.